If you're into music, music production, music recording, there is only one piece of software that has been everywhere over social media for the past couple of weeks. Luna. What is up, guys? My name is Ben Hartwell. Thanks for checking out the channel. If it's your first time here, or even if it's not, why not hit that subscribe button? So, Universal Audio's Luna, their first foray into the world of DAWs. Although it's not a DAW, UAD are describing Luna as a recording system. They've been very persistent saying that it is definitely not a DAW, but it sure looks and it sure acts like a DAW to me. UAD have released Luna as a free download to anybody that has a UAD interface, which includes their entry interface, the Arrow, which is the one I have. So I got Luna just over a week ago and I've been playing around with it. And I gotta say, I really like it. I've even done a few projects in it, like this one. As you can see, my voice is currently being recorded through Luna using Unison preamps, but we'll come on to that a little bit later. But there's no point me just talking about it. Let's jump into the software and I'll show you what it can do. So, welcome to Luna. To a lot of you guys who've used programs such as Pro Tools or Studio One, or even things like Logic and GarageBand, the interface here is going to be pretty familiar to you. Luna is split into two primary windows, really. We have this edit window, which contains all of your tracks and where you do all of your audio editing. And we have a mixer window where we can insert plugins, change levels, panning, and things like that, just like in many other DAWs. Although this isn't a DAW. So I've just dragged in all the stems from my song Desert Wind, which you might remember from my video last week, which if you haven't seen, I'll put a link to it here in the cards. And getting all these stems into Luna was just a really simple procedure. It was just a case of selecting them all and dragging them straight into an empty window. So the only thing that's left for me to get into this session is the drums, and I thought I'd leave that to do now, just to show you how easy it is. So first, I'm gonna have to create a track to put the MIDI drums on. There are a couple of ways in Luna that you can do this. You can go up to the plus here, create a new instrument. We can then fill out this dialog and that would create a new track for us. The alternate way is the same shortcut as in Pro Tools, which is Command-Shift-N, and that brings us to exactly the same place. So I'm going to want an instrument. The instrument that I want is Contact. We'll call it drums. Say OK. And that's put us a new channel into the session and it's loaded Contact up for us. So I'll just select my drums, load my preset, then it's just a case of dragging in my drums, keep the current tempo, drag the drums into position, and they should be there. Piece of cake. A lot of the things in Luna are very familiar to me because of my workflow in Studio One. Things like a context-aware cursor. If we move it to the very edge of a clip, we can highlight. To the tops, we can do fades. To the bottoms, we can trim. Each individual clip within Luna gets its own clip gain. And something unique to Luna that I've not seen in a DAW before, every single clip also gets its own pitch adjustment. Other things very similar to some other DAWs, when a track is selected, that track's channel strip appears down the side. From here we can do panning, solo and mute, arm for record, input monitoring, and we can also do any inserts and sends from here. Staying organized in Luna is really easy to do. Everything is easily dragged and moved about as you would like. You can change colors just by clicking here and you bring up the color wheel. Renaming is just a case of double clicking. Could even include comments on a track per track basis, such as microphones used or things like that. On the very left here at the moment I have the track view, which lets us easily jump between tracks in a session. You can change what's visible at any one time by disabling or enabling things up here at the top, and this is also how we switch between our edit view and our mix window. On the end of this menu up at the top of the screen is this really interesting workflow section. It has 4 individual buttons: record, MIDI, edit and mix, and they bring up a set of options specific to each one of those groups. So for record we can change things like the click and add in pre and post roll. In MIDI we get this little MIDI keyboard and a couple of other options. In edit we get some commonly used edit functions, and in mix we get this overview of the entire project, which is really cool for jumping about in a session. And we also get a quick Mixdown button, which is a really cool little feature. Talking of Mixdown, we get a whole bunch of options when it comes to rendering out a project, including being able to render out individual sources, including tempo maps and rendering it real time. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. One of the big features that UAD were pushing at NAMM was the inclusion of something called Luna extensions and their Neve summon. So if we go back to the mix window, and let's say I wanted to bust my drums out to do some parallel compression. Really simple to do in Luna. There's actually a couple of ways we could do it. We could scroll down to this part where it says output, and we could create a new bus here, or it's as simple as pressing Command Shift B. That'll bring up this create bus dialog, and in here we can choose Neve summing. So that's created a new bus for us, and if we look up at the top, we have the Neve summing extension. Now on social media, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the cost of Neve summing, and I've got to say it did come as a bit of a surprise to me. The way that UAD were talking about it all through NAMM, it did kind of seem like the UAD extensions were going to be something that came free with Luna. Sadly, that's not the case. As you can see, I'm currently on the last day of my demo with the Neve summing, and as of recording this video, Neve summing costs £229. Now that's an awful lot of money for a plugin, and it's not even a real plugin, it's a Luna extension, so you can't use it in anything other than Luna. But we do get an included demo, so you can at least try it out and see what you think, and see if you think it is really worth it for your workflow. I actually do really like the Neve summing, but for me, I don't think I can get the use out of the cost of that plugin at the moment. Another Luna extension we have, which does come included, is Oxide Tape. Oxide Tape can be put across every channel in your mix if you wanted to. And the great thing about it is it runs natively on the computer, so it's not taking away any of your UAD DSP. You get a few controls within the channel itself, but you can dive in deeper just by clicking this button here, and there's a whole bunch of presets you can choose from, adding some really nice saturation and harmonic content to your mixes. The other tape machine, the Studio A800, is a paid Luna extension as well, but it is also available as a demo. It does have quite a few more options than what are available on just the Oxide Tape, but apparently if you own the Studio plugin already for UAD, then you're entitled to download the Luna extension for free. So one of the things that I do really like about Luna is the near zero latency recording process. Anybody that's had any experience recording with UAD hardware and using console will be quite familiar to the workflow within Luna. If I were to create a new track, we'll have audio. If I record and enable this new track here, we can see right at the top we have access to the Unison preamps straight within Luna. No more switching between console, adjusting your preamp and then going back to your d.a.w. It's right there in Luna. We also have record effect slots. So any effect that we want to commit to during the recording process can go in here. So I could include a distressor, for example, and print those effects as I'm recording, saving DSP when it comes to mix time. But if you didn't want to print those effects, we still have a whole number of insert points where you could put any number of effects you wanted to, and still monitoring with near zero latency during the recording. And this is all thanks to UAD's new ARM, or accelerated real-time monitoring. So I said earlier that Luna is based around just 2 windows. There are no extra pop-out windows for things like MIDI editing. It's all done within the edit window. So as you can see with these drums, all of my hits are here. I'm able to zoom right in and move my hits about. I can view velocities and change them right here in the edit window. There's no jumping back and forth between different windows. Quantize options are also right on the clip. There's no menu diving involved. It brings it straight up here into the browser on the side. And quite a lot is done through this browser here. For example, if we were to create a new instrument, Command Shift N, and I were to use Luna's new instrument shape, this is something I have run into a few times with Luna at the moment. I do get the spinning beach ball of doom. But with it being a version 1 software, little bugs are to be expected. So this is Luna's brand new instrument shape. It's kind of like a host for 4 separate instruments. So at the moment loaded into slot 1 is the Revel LT, which is their brand new piano plugin, which sounds amazing. I will include some audio examples so you guys can hear what some of these instruments sound like. But I've been blown away by the quality of these instruments. But back to that browser window. If we were to click presets, it brings up a new browser window where we can search for presets. And loading a new preset is as easy as just typing in what we're after, so maybe some strings, double clicking, and that is now loaded into Shape and ready for us to play. I'll drop in here a few examples of the instruments that Shape comes with. You also get a demo of Luna's new Moog plugin. I've not yet started my demo of the Moog plugin, so I can't give any opinion on how that sounds, but I've read and heard some really good things about it. One of the things that is going to take me a bit of time to get used to in Luna is the way that it handles takes and comping, or as it's known in Luna, versions. So I have this bass amp track here. If I click this little button, we bring up the versions tab. Now, as these are the rendered out stems, I don't actually have the other takes, so I'll just create a new version, and I'll copy this audio with C and paste it onto this new version with V. I'm going to offset it just slightly so that we can see the difference between versions 1 and 2. So say I wanted to do a comp track, taking different parts from each one of these takes. Well, the way that you do that in Luna is to then create another take. I'll rename it comp so I know what I'm doing. It's then just a case of highlighting the bits that you want from each take, pressing C to copy and V to paste. C to copy and V to paste. Now, to me, that is a little bit of a more long-winded workflow than what I'm used to in Studio One, where Studio One will create multiple layers when you're doing takes, and it's just a case of highlighting each bit and it automatically gets sent to a comp track. I'm not entirely sure which way I prefer at the moment. I do like how this keeps everything super organized, but I do feel it's going to slow me down a little bit until I get completely comfortable with this way of working. Another thing that is super easy to do in Luna is automation. It's just a case of going to the track that you want to automate, clicking on this view section here, choosing the parameter that you want to automate. So I'll choose volume, and it's just a case of drawing in points that you'd like to automate. You can automate whole sections or points at a time. It's a really simple, easy workflow, and it's very similar to the way that I'm used to doing things in Studio One. Where it does change a little bit is if I were to add some inserts onto this channel. So let's just put a 2A on here. And now when I go back to this view section, I now have access to automate all of those parameters within that plugin straight in the edit window. So I could select peak reduction and draw in my automation curve for the compressor straight there in the edit window. And speaking of inserts and plugins, Luna is not just limited to running UAD plugins. So if I select this second insert slot, it automatically brings up all the UAD plugins first. If I close some of these off, you can see it brings up all the plugin folders that contain plugins that Luna is capable of loading. So I could easily load one of my Waves plugins, and it loads right up just like any other d.a.w. One cool feature that I found the other day is this button up at the top, which splits the view out to show all of the plugins on that channel at any one time, so you can easily change both plugins at the same time. Another little cool feature that I found is if you click here, you can actually create a plugin icon, and then down here in the inserts, it actually shows a little picture of the plugin. Just a really nice little feature that helps come mix time. One more thing you can do with the track view down the side is easily hide tracks that you don't want to work on at the moment. And like a number of features in Luna, this is one that you can click and drag to hide and unhide tracks. The same goes for soloing and muting, and that also transfers over to the mix window. Just click and drag. So that's pretty much all the basics covered in Luna. I'm still getting my head around a lot of it, but from the few projects I've done in it so far, I've got to say, I really like it, and I think I am going to be switching from Studio One to Luna at some point in the near future. So there you go, Luna. I actually really like it, and for a version 1 piece of software, I think it's amazing. There are obviously some things that a lot of people aren't happy about, like the Neve summon, but there are a lot of things to really like about this software. I myself am in between using Studio One and Luna at the moment. I've not completely decided which way I'm going to go, and for a little while I'll probably use both packages. I really like that it's a kind of extension of what console is, that the access to the Unison preamps is built straight into Luna. I think Luna Extensions is going to become something really interesting in the future, and overall I'm very impressed with the software. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up below. If you want to watch another video on my channel, you can click just up here. And don't forget to subscribe, you can do it right there. I'll see you in the next one.